The police report at the scene of the accident says that they found a quarter cup of brain matter at the scene of the accident.
Joe Russell's possibly the greatest high school wrestler in the history of our nation.
They put me in an ambulance. They were going to get a life flight to get me to the hospital, but there was no reason to do that because I wasn't going to make it.
He's setting records. He's making a name in the sport.
The whole left side of my body was paralyzed, and that was kind of a low point for me.
The doctors said, you just need to be happy that you're alive. And my brother looked back at the doctor and said, no, I want to wrestle. We're in Paris, France, the World Championships. The Russell brothers are at the World Championships in Paris, France. Wrestling was life. My brother, before he was walking, my dad would have us wrestling.
Yeah, I think I was real fortunate as a kid, you know, growing up on the mat, and I did have a lot of success early on. Practice 6 days a week, 3 or 4 hours a night, year round. It's kind of all we did was wrestle. I would say my junior year of high school would be kind of a dream year for most kids. I was 16 years old. I won, state high school title. I won junior nationals both style. And I was actually took 4th in the U.S. Open at the senior level. Plan was, my brother and I always dreamed of going to the Olympics together, and we got to watch the Peterson brothers compete in the '76 Olympics. And Dan and I decided that's who we were going to be like, and that's what we wanted to do.
My brother just came back from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
So, got back, we went for a run, got done with the run, we were going to our high school to wrestle.
So we thought we just ran 6 miles, we get to our house, pick up our wrestling shoes, and instead of walking or running 2 blocks, we decided to drive over there, and I hopped in the car and my brother hopped on the back of a motorcycle with a teammate.
Jumped on the back of our friend's motorcycle, only a couple block drive, and we were driving over to the high school, and as we were getting there, a car pulled out in front of my friend. He tried to lay the motorcycle down, but it flipped.
I'm looking at my brother laying over the top of a motorcycle in a pool of blood.
When I was laying there, my brother was behind in a car with our coach, and he got out of the car and he saw, I don't know, you can probably see the scar on my arm right here, but I was laying on the motorcycle and the exhaust was burning my arm, and he said it looked like my head was falling off, like stuff was coming out. So my brother got out, pushed the bike away, and then took his shirt off and wrapped it around my head, just trying to hold me together. A lot of doctors told my parents later on the longest they'd ever heard of anybody living from the types of brain traumas I had was about 30 minutes. So it was one of those accidents where you're not supposed to live from it.
The doctors were very clear with us in the midst of this accident. They were very clear. My brother's in a coma. With the trauma that he had, there's 7 reasons medically he should have died instantly, and they were very clear with us. This is the best it's going to get.
My coach went and got my parents, and they were hustling them there because actually when my parents got to the hospital, they were signing my body parts away because there was no way I was going to make it, and it was one of those kind of decisions. It was pretty much over. The doctor who was on call that night, the neurosurgeon, actually heard of me as a wrestler, and he went in and did some exploratory surgery to go and take pieces of my skull and pick them out of my brain, and then washed them off, and then he said it was like putting a jigsaw puzzle back together, and then he tried to glue it on top of my head just in case I lived.
That was hard to deal with. Brother had a gauge that they had in his head that was measuring the swelling in his brain. He was on a breathing machine, and to hear the breathing machine, knowing that that's what's keeping him alive, and to think this is the best it's going to get. To have him there, but not really there. A few days later, a nurse was walking around his bed, and Joe looked at the nurse and said, "I'm cold." And she started crying. She came and got us. We were crying, and meanwhile, we left Joe in bed freezing to death. We finally pulled ourselves together and we got him a blanket. We said, "Joe, is there anything else we could do for you?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm hungry."
As a result of the accident, the biggest problems I had was the whole left side of my body was paralyzed. My arm, my leg, nothing really worked on the left side. And that was really the big things coming back. you know, reality doesn't really set in. I remember one real tough night I had, and I remember laying there in bed and this scar over here, it itched really bad, and I needed to scratch it. You know, I couldn't get it with my head. I couldn't get my left arm over there to scratch, and I remember I finally had to buzz the nurse to come help me. And that was kind of a low point for me.
Morning. I'll never forget my brother being released from rehab, and I got sent to go pick him up. And so I'm driving him home. My brother won't let me take him to the house. He says, "Dan," he said, "take me to the high school." So I drop over at the high school, and he says, "Time me, see how fast I can run a mile." And my brother takes off around this track, and about every 3 or 4 steps he fell flat on his face. I think his time was somewhere in 27 minutes. It was not the fastest mile anybody had ever ran. When my brother got done, his knees were bleeding, his elbows were bleeding, because every 3 or 4 steps he fell down. But every time he fell down, he got back up, and the next day he was back on that track. He was going to run a little bit faster, a little bit better.
Then I had a gauge of what I had to do. I think that helped me a lot with dealing with the accident and finding ways to come back as far as I could.
Yeah, he told the doctors, he said, "I want to wrestle." They said, "Joe, you're crazy. You had a compound skull fracture with severe lacerations of the brain. You just need to be happy that you're alive." And my brother looked back at the doctor and said, "No, I want to wrestle."
My senior year, I missed almost a semester, started to come back, and then I eventually had to go to another year of high school. And actually that second senior year I went out and I wrestled terrible. Guys before you wouldn't practice with because they wouldn't give you enough workout, those guys got a chance to beat up on me, you know, that next year. But I was real fortunate. Jay Robinson at Minnesota still believed that I could come all the way back.
Jay was, you know, you come be a part of our team, love to have you be a part of our team, and you know, you'll never probably wrestle for the Gophers under the lights.
Every night, like I say, I go to bed and I think, all right, tomorrow I'm going to be better, so that kind of stuff. And that really helped keep me going, kind of thinking more long term and just saying, all right, God, this plan is crazy, but I know it's going to work, so let's just hang in there kind of thing. You know, I think I did things well there enough to where, you know, when I was there training, guys voted me the team captain my senior year, and you know, after I graduated, Jay bring me back as a coach because they saw the effort I was putting in and the attitude I had. You know, I think being there and being the guy that showed up every day and the guy that, you know, was staying late and doing the extra stuff, I think that stuff helped me grow, you know, when I actually chose the path of going into coaching.
Only taking one shot.
A little scouting. So this is who Gilman will have coming up. So we're just making sure get the last video we can get on the guy and do it on the phone so we can send it to everybody. So it's every coach can access this video on the map once I get it downloaded here. So. I was officially on the staff at Minnesota as an assistant coach from '96 to 2011. I got an opportunity to be a head coach at George Mason University. And then out of the blue, Bill Zedek asked me what it would take to get me to Colorado Springs. To get the opportunity to come to Colorado and to coach our national team is like, I keep pinching myself because it's like a dream, you know, it's like, wow. I tell you what, and this is the truth, and I'm not blowing smoke or anything like that, but a lot more positive has happened as a result of this accident than negative things that happened. I think it changed my perspective on life a lot, so I think it helped me as a coach to kind of relate to everybody, whether it's the starter or the bench warmer, and I know for a fact this accident has had a lot more positive in my life than negative things happen from it, so I just feel so blessed with the opportunity to be working with the guys here at the World Championships.